NTV Tuesday's edition as we journey on the 18th of November 2025. Our kickstarter this morning is focusing on a matter that is very critical to the cycle that we are in, and that's the election cycle. We are talking about security, its complexity, and of course the election administration by and large. The backbone of it is that security agencies are central to safeguarding integrity, credibility, as well as public interest and trust in any electoral cycle. Now, yet when you look to the global statistics, there's an increase in the East African region by and large, the behavior, the deployment, as well as the perception of security forces during any given election. We have seen these cycles around East Africa, currently one that is running from Tanzania, it's coming to Uganda, then it will be picking it up. Actually started from Rwanda, then it came to, no, not even Rwanda, Democratic Republic of Congo, then went to Rwanda, then went to Tanzania, now coming to Uganda, then it will be going to Kenya. So that is what it's looking like on the East African region. Now, studies are also showing, this is International IDEA 2024, Afrobarometer 2023, and the UNDP Electoral Security Framework of 2022, all showing that over 40% of electoral disputes in Africa are linked to actions of security agencies, whether excessive force, selective enforcement of the law, or even politically influenced arrests. Now, this is also not new to us. I think the most recent example that we can pull out of the draw is the one of the National Unity Platform and its leadership that were traversing Mbara City and Mbara District as they were picking up their Western tour for their presidential flag bearer. And the arrests that happened in Mbara, primarily, of course, how we saw the security forces handling that, that then fueled and rattled the masses to actually do something about it. So having to end up with over 90 people behind bars out of that incident. Now in Uganda, by and large, allegations of partisan policing resurface every election cycle. We saw the heavy deployment of police officers when Robert Chagulanyi was in Kakumiro, and you wonder why that heavy nature of deployment, why not deploy relatively the same across the country. Afrobarometer round 9 of 2023 finding that 53% of Ugandans believe the police operate with bias in political matters, while 48% say security agencies use excessive force, and this is especially during the election cycle. Now in politics and elections especially, perception matters as much as realities on ground that people see on a daily basis, that they can use to account, that they can use to pinpoint, that they can use to record. That's the disadvantage or that we are in, that people have their evidence on their phone and say, according to this evidence, things are not looking as you are saying. Now, once security is seen as partisan, it inflames tension, which then, instead of neutralizing, it ends up undermining the credibility of the electoral process, and that infringes on what the Electoral Commission intends to achieve as a free and fair election. Now, this morning, I'm hosting pundits that are very vast with matters of security and state and elections, and they'll help us understand what are the current dynamics, what is fueling these dynamics, and how much is this fuel going to be costing Uganda at the end of this electoral cycle. To my extreme left, I do have Mr. Joseph Tindyebwa, a political analyst and a senior lecturer public management. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Madam Priscilla. It's a pleasure to be with you and to the dear viewers and listeners today this morning.
It's a pleasure to have you too. Next to him, we do have Henry Kitambula, who's the Deputy RCC Rubaga Division. Good morning to you.
Good morning, viewers. I'm really happy to be here this morning to talk about a very fundamental issue, because security touches every part of the body, every part of the country, every part of the world. So it's my pleasure to be here.
And when I have these two gentlemen on set, I can rest assure you that we can be here the whole day talking about these issues. We've been able to do that once, why not another time? We also do have Commissioner Fred Bamwine from the Office of the President. Good morning to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Good morning, viewers and listeners of NTV. I'm happy to be here, and I'm also intrigued by your background to the topic, because when I had heavy deployment, then if the deployment was less, why less deployment? So I was really intrigued to hear that kind of analysis and background, and I was asking myself, what do people actually want?
What do people actually want? So let's start right there, and I'll start with you, Joseph. From what we have seen so far since the 29th of September, when the campaign picked up, starting with presidential candidates, and now we also do have parliamentary and local government campaigns having kicked in. It's now a full-blown cycle. What is your view on the state of security currently in this cycle?
Thank you. As introduced, indeed, I'm Dr. Joseph Tindyebwa, senior lecturer at Kampala International University. The question you bring right now on the stage and matching with the current political environment, a lot is desirable to be looked at, and in an objective way, as a country, indeed, which cherishes to be a peaceful country. All of us want to be peaceful, but as you align it with the role of security in a midst an electoral cycle, is important compared to the call for democracy. And the democracy, it always calls for the need to admire and all of us subject ourselves to the rule of law, allow the law be the guiding principle, and also to ensure that there is equitable treatment of people when they are approaching public matters. And again, giving that preamble, you look at a number of electoral cycles we've had, and possibly from an objective point of view of an independent arm of the government, the judiciary, especially whenever there is a sort of either constitutional Supreme Court petitions, electoral petition, it cites the law of security in our electoral cycle. And especially for the candidates who have participated, who have sometimes showed displeasure of the outcome of the presidential elections, they always complain about security. And from that point of view, if you can look at the ruling of 2001, 2005, when these elections were ongoing, I mean after the elections, you realize that there is a serious comment on security conduct and a call that security should not take be partisan, should treat all candidates equally, and above all to ensure that they do not be the ones to castigate violence. Whereas that has ever been part of the ruling and recommendation anyway, 2016, it was still a call upon the security to avoid acts of, castigating at times violence. But at the same time, there is also where the citizens are also to be watched at. We've seen some countries all of a sudden turning into, very violent, especially during elections. It's a very sensitive time. But the call upon the security in this time, and at times what happens, we do not blame it to an individual conduct. Let's say at times say that it is because of the head of state. There are some who go beyond boundaries, and sometimes they want to prove that they are doing their job, and they do it wrongly. And you find that no, even when they go, I'm here with the senior comrades here who are attached in those security monitoring of what goes on. You find that they have gone beyond their boundaries, even not what they expected to do. But on the other hand, it is the role of the executive, in this case, if we are talking of the government, to make sure that they are able, those who speak on behalf of the government, to say, no, security, here you've gone beyond. So that it creates a picture, according to the information you've given us of the barometer, that the security is non-partisan. And number two, politically, because we don't want to play politics of monkey and what? And the game of monkey in the forest. You do this, you throw the banana on the other side, yet it was yours, something like that. There should be sincerity, where the security or the head of state, because the head of state doubles as the president, I mean as a presidential candidate, to be able to come to a place to either give a position that, no, this is not what I have told you security to do, because he is a commander of armed forces. At the end of the day, as they say, orders from above. So we'd want to have that sincerity, especially at a rate where we are, from the time when this NRM government had taken over, we see the honest and sincerity where the head of state say, security, that conduct to my fellow candidates is not right. We could be happy as Ugandans from the objective and independent point of view. Okay. At times it has happened that the heavy deployment which the RCC of Mr. Fred is talking about, it is much more seen, especially blocking the opposition when in some areas, not all areas, to go to some gathering, places to conduct rallies. And it has always not appeared to be fair. My appeal in this process, it should be equal treatment. Okay. And another thing is that we should...
Allow me to ask you to just hold your school of thought there. We'll be continuing with it. Henry Kitambula here has been in this resident commission work for a very long time, and security has always been core to one of the mandates that he has. From your perspective, the state of security so far with what we have seen in these coming to 2 months of the cycle so far, actively having all stakeholders now on ground. The Electoral Commission is on ground, the police is on ground, the candidates are on ground, the voter is also on ground. What do you make of the state of security? And for you in particular, in reference also to incidences where we have seen RDCs coming out to say that they are going to ensure that the opposition does not have free and fair campaigning in their areas of jurisdiction.
I think I've not heard any RDC saying that the opposition will not have a free and fair campaign in their areas of operation. What I've heard...
I may give information. It happened in Chirua where the RDC even had to make a command that they should have beaten those guys who came over there.
I didn't follow that, but first of all, you asked about the state of the security. For me, as the chairperson of the District Security Committee or State Security Committee, I'm really very happy that so far so good. So far so good. The campaigns are peaceful, despite the fact that a few candidates entered the campaigns with the intention of causing chaos. I remember very well when I was still in Rubaga as the deputy RCC, on the 12th February this year, NOP unveiled a well-trained team, and we saw a very well-organized parade. That was during the time when the NOP principal was celebrating his 42nd birthday. Then the chairperson of NOP Rubaga, who doubles as the mayor, made it very clear that this time round they will enter these campaigns with what they termed as a guard. I think a guard is now becoming a common word in the ears of Ugandans. Now, if you have candidates and some groups with that mindset of coming with a guard, of coming up with a parade, really you can see as security the preparations you must make to ensure that at least you create peace. And for me, I'm happy that issues of a guard have not actually surfaced so much in these campaigns so far. As security, we are mandated to protect the candidates, their supporters, those who are using the public roads, the property of the wananchi, the investments we have made so far, and the entire country generally. So we must make sure that all those I've mentioned are secure. The heavy deployment you talked about, I think we forget very, very quickly. When Trump was campaigning, he had 2 attempts of assassination Trump. Then in 2007, on 27th December, in Pakistan, Benazir Bhutto was assassinated, if you remember very well. I don't know whether Dr. here remembers. And for us in Uganda, we have got all of those case studies of attempted assassinations, and we must ensure that we deploy, whether you call it heavy, whether you call it what, to ensure that all of the candidates are protected and everybody is protected.
Okay, so
yes,
of course, just to hold you on that particular one, the heavy reference that we're talking about is in Kakumiro, when we had Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu heading there for his presidential campaigns, and that deployment versus the deployments of the same forces to other places that he has visited were quite contrary, in contrast, if we can put it that way.
But do you remember what happened in Kakumiro?
It was not in line with
do you remember what happened in Kakumiro?
What happened in Kakumiro?
A vehicle of police had the tires punctured. I don't know whether you remember, and some property stolen, right? So we work with intelligence. In fact, if we had not deployed in Kakumiro, maybe
and those incidences have happened of altercations with police in other parts that these different presidential candidates have been traversing. It was not unique to Kakumiro alone.
But do you remember what happened in Budaka? Was it Budaka? When the Nupu supporters attacked the supporters of FDC, where we had even the shooting to safeguard and whisk away the candidate. Do you want such cases in our campaigns? Okay,
but it had nothing to do with attempted assassinations as the picture you're trying to paint.
No matter if somebody attacks a candidate and the supporters, to the extent that the security of the candidate had to shoot to whisk him away. Do you think that is
deployment? Should there be an attack? But then there's deployment even before the attack that you're talking about.
You know,
and this is police. I mean, if it was UPDF, then it would make sense.
You are funny, my sister. You are funny. You want us to wait for the incident to happen and then we deploy. We cannot do that. We have the intelligence. We have the intelligence.
So what was the intelligence that informed
when the intelligence tells us that there is likely to be a scuffle in Kakumiro, then we deploy accordingly.
So on that note, what now this is futuristically speaking, what are some of course it's intelligence you may not share by and large, but what should people be mindful of with the intelligence that you have at your fingertips? What would you want people to be mindful of when we're looking at security in this election cycle?
One, when you're going for maybe your rally, to me, I would expect that, like what the candidate of NRM does, come to a district, talk with the security team there. The security team will not dictate what you want, but they will work with you, they will cooperate with you to ensure that you agree on the venue. This is where I'm going to hold my rally. Then you hold your rally from there peacefully. Then, because we have people who are using the roads, so why do you really use or misuse a public road when we have other people who are supposed to use the road? That's one. Number two, why do you attack police officers who are really assisting you in securing your candidate and securing yourselves? That is also not good. So that should be avoided. Then the other thing, the processions. I even heard the Electoral Commission banning the processions. I come from Kono, that's my home district. If somebody carries out a procession, for example, from where you get a go to Seta, then you go to the other junction,
the processions that you're speaking of were before the campaigning actually picked up for the different candidates.
But you are showing us the procession.
That no longer holds water.
You have been showing us the procession.
That's a
that
rally.
Is the procession. What is the procession?
A rally. But you and I are going to disagree on this one. So allow me to engage our friend on the other side, Peter Serugo, who is joining us from, I think, they're in northern Uganda. He's having a sit down with Oyam South Member of Parliament, incumbent, but also doubles as the Minister of Gender, Labour and Social Development. And we want to have an understanding. Of course, in studio here, Peter, we're talking about the state of security, especially for all the stakeholders involved right now. And we want to understand, how does the Honourable Member of Parliament of Oyam South see the state of security in this time?
Well, thank you so much, Priscilla. We are coming to you live from Lira here, Lira City. But maybe to bring our viewers to speed, we are following the FDC presidential candidate.
Endeavors today as you bring us coverage of the FDC candidate and the campaigns going on en route, the places that you talked about apart, to be exact, and Kole. Now, to bring it back to studio, but also, you know, picking up on some of the submissions that have been shared by Betty Amongi, Honorable Minister there, allow me to turn to Fred Bamwine here. Sounds like people are taking the phrase protecting the gains a little bit too personal and trying to protect the family gains in Lira.
You know, you have the right question to the wrong person. I've never supported Marat Party politics. Even in 2005, I was saying there was no need for us to go into Marat Party dispensation. Because when you look at a situation like Lira, for instance, these are two cabinet ministers from the same region. So what are you trying to tell the voters? Because if it was for party position, I would understand it. Maybe she's going there as UPC, but also UPC.
Yeah, but the UPC that is, you know, comfortably married to the NRM.
Yeah, but my concern is the voter. This voter who is watching you from Oyam South, now Lira, I don't know from Lira where I think we are taking voters for granted for some. As far as I'm concerned, even if you wanted, by the way, to change a constituency, the reasons should be so clear to the extent that the voter sees the why. The why.
The why is in consideration of the voter, not yourself. Because her why she gives is that because her husband, Jimmy Akena, was upgrading to presidential, applying for presidential candidacy.
Then why do we elect?
The seat would be left vacant. So
why do we elect members of parliament?
Protect the
if the constituency was not properly represented, I would understand. But as far as I'm concerned, I've not had shortage in representation in the area. So me, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not pleased the way how multipartyism is playing. But I'm very happy when you look at all those who have registered for parliamentary seats, including independents, and the independents are more than official candidates of parties. So I'm praying that maybe in some years to come, we are likely to go back to the movement system of governance. There is no need to divide people based on tribe, based on political party, religion, color. Those are the issues. Okay. I want to hear, how are you going to transform the lives of the voters? How are you going to try to impact? Because now the country, 33% are still in subsistence economy. How are you helping them to go into money economy? Those are the areas I'm preoccupied with.
Okay.
But these other issues.
All right. On that regard, you have mentioned a word in there in your submission called division. The country is currently divided about the case of Dr. Kizza Besigye and Obeid Lutale. It's now been a whole 367 days as we speak today of their incarceration. And since their apprehension, we have seen here and there, from one hand into another arm of government, and there seems to be no decision that is being arrived at. This is the longest that he's been incarcerated. It begs the question, what has changed in the political security calculus right now?
There's a singer, I don't know who is, there's a song in Uganda, you're telling me the singer, Abatase Gansigo, Balinza Makungura. Who is that one? That singer. See, you sensationalize as if we are staying on the Mars. As far as I'm concerned, there is no person in Uganda that is in prison without a charge. The only beauty which I know in the Constitution, that even if you are in prison, you are still presumed innocent until you either plead guilty or until court has pronounced that you are guilty. So, if, I think Henry mentioned about it, people forget that every financial year, the country of Uganda votes money for intelligence services. And the intelligence services, their responsibility is very simple. Since morning Priscilla woke up in the morning, where has she gone? Whom has she talked to with? What has she done? What is she planning? And once the early warning signals indicate, or once the security estimates, intelligence estimates indicate that you are likely to, there is likely to be breach of peace, you will be arrested. And those activities, even the ones we are mentioning, they are all intelligence-led operations. And unfortunately, intelligence is not shared, and also intelligence it does not go for prosecution. But I wish you knew what goes behind the doors. That's when you come to appreciate. Now you're talking about Kizza Besigye in incarceration. You know, in penal code, there is a word called preventive arrest. About a month ago, Honorable Kyagulanyi was having a press conference, and he says everybody who's going to stand on the ticket of NUP must build a group of gangs, a gari. What do? Beat people, root, hurt, and maim. Everybody who's going to stand as Imegari. There's no security agency in the world that is going to fold its hands that somebody has declared. In the normal situation, they would have prevented him not to continue, so that he does not commit crimes. But when I heard you saying, why deployment? There's nothing difficult like running a country in a democracy. Priscilla, who's coming to NTV, wants to be secured. A thief is playing very hard not to be arrested. These ones, the guard people, they also pray to God in the morning. And then there's this Mr. Government to make sure that all of them, their rights are protected. It's a real complex situation. But me, I want to congratulate security agencies in the country that, as far as we are concerned, in 2 months now, there are about 1 or 2 incidents, and really that one, I must congratulate them.
Okay.
And I want to assure everybody that elections are going to continue in a calm manner. If you commit a crime or you're about to commit a crime, they'll pick you as an individual, and they're not going to use tear gas to affect the non-participants.
All right.
Therefore, I want to call on all of us. An election period is a period to convince people to come to your side. Why do you have to pronounce war start threatening others. I hope you have seen Ugandans holding sticks and stones chasing policemen. Or that one doesn't make news for you?
It does make news. And I'm going to ask you to hold your school of thought there, Fred. We're going to be taking a short break. But of course, from what Fred has submitted...
Add a comment on that.
No, before you... We'll comment, because even me, I have a follow-up question. If the government is so confident of its intelligence regarding the case of Dr. Kizza Besigye and Obed Rutale, then why the delayed justice right after this break? The political atmosphere in different parts of the city, as well as the districts and the regions of Uganda. And so that's how our programming is here and there. But we're still looking to regional security and the patterns that we're seeing of opposition arrests. Case in point, most recently in Tanzania, where you did see the return of Tindyebwa from exile, and then shortly after that, him being arrested and being denied the right to participate in electoral cycle, the one that he wanted to participate in. You do have the case of Victoria Ngabire that is in Rwanda, that's also faced the wrath of the Titans, having been imprisoned for years, rearrested multiple times, and of course the case of Dr. Kizza Besigye, equally repeated arrests over the past 2 decades. I would like to just pick a minute's comment. Beyond a minute, I will take my microphones back. I'll start with you, Joseph. Yes.
What does that help you?
It will help me get some information. Yes, Joseph.
Okay, with limited time, but again, being sensitive on the matters we are talking about, we need to know that the current trend of elections before elections by the East African community countries needs to be treated with care, because at times we say history repeats itself. You've mentioned Tanzania, of how Tanzania, of course, has been a very peaceful country, and it is one of the admirable countries that has lived peacefully. But because of that misconduct of the presidential candidate of the then, when they were in elections, within just a twinkling of an eye, within 1 week, 2 weeks, we had to see people die because they were treated in a manner that was not expected, especially while deciding who should lead them. And that's why we need all of us, including in Uganda, to know that you may be happy and you say everything is okay, and at a certain time you make a mistake on the processes of these elections, how you are dealing with the public, and you end up losing people. You've talked about just the most recent of Rwanda, Ingabire. That's beyond that. You look at how the late Habyarimana mishandled living with his fellow colleagues and how to have a united country. It is what led to the genocide. It was supposed to be solved through a dialogue process, not the political actions of gun versus gun. And at times the arrogance and impunity of those who are in leadership is the one which will end up sacrifice the masses for nothing. And going to Uganda, it would have been ideal, because I've been in part of these processes, to have much more appreciated a political dialogue than having the so-called intelligence, which some of the intelligence, some people at times are only counting, making accountabilities. There is no reasonable intelligence you can offer to Uganda at a time where we are, to have offered to Uganda for 365 days for someone incarcerated. There is a strong effect, as I address this the country, on the politics, justice system, and national stability. For purpose of national cohesion and peaceful country, it would have been ideal if we passed through the political intelligence one can talk about. What did it deliver? Number 2, if criminal investigation undertook the processes, was it very difficult to have decided where this case should be? Number 4, Directorate of Public Prosecution. All that is required to have gone through the processes, because the justice system is known. Why go through this and that, arrest someone from Kenya by an abduction, and you unlawfully do it? You come to Uganda, you unlawfully process a justice system, you are bleaching all processes. So my colleagues here, speaking on behalf of my fellow countrymen and countrywomen, the issue is not defending either Dr. Kizza Besigye, who is incarcerated. The issue is a fair treatment and the justice system, which is currently broken down.
Okay.
You talk about the Constitution, just one more minute. The Constitution, it talks about mandatory bail. For purposes of justice, you and me, today, if you were in the same prison, and either it is true or false, why not be granted a the mandatory bail of 180 days? You are either safeguarded in your travels, the intelligence you talk about, Fred Bamwine, is granted, and someone accesses justice. And the very person, Mr. Fred and my colleague, who is arrested, and yourselves, they were part of framing this constitution, which agreed on bail. You see, for us, as you've heard from Kigezi, from other countries, from other regions, we are saying the justice system, the overseer of the justice system, the coordination between the executive and the judiciary, there is a compromise which is against the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda,
okay.
And in any case, which is like an overthrow.
That being said, Henry.
Yes.
If government is so confident of its tools and its intelligence against the accused and co-accused, why is justice being delayed for the case of the two?
First of all, I think it's the accused and the lawyers who are playing monkey tricks. The DPP made charges, what was in the court martial. So the DPP had to prepare a charge sheet, and that was in February. Then Dr. Kizza Besigye and the co-accused were taken to the Magistrates Court in Nakawa. So in May, the prosecution, the DPP's office, was ready. In fact, they said they are done with the investigations, and they wanted Dr. Kizza Besigye committed in the High Court, say that the trial can begin. Now that was less than 180 days from February.
Why from February?
I said from February because that's when the judiciary received the case. Now, in May, as the proceedings for the committal were going on, Dr. Kizza Besigye's lawyers moved out. So they said, don't commit our person. For us, don't commit our people. For us, our issue is the bail. So to them, the priority was bail than a speedy trial of the matter. All of us have got people who have committed crimes, and we have always prayed that their trial goes on very fast, so that we can know whether they are guilty or not.
Okay.
So up to now, the tricks and everything, the politics around the case is bail.
So politicizing
not trial,
the case of Dr.
not trial. So the DPP's office, by the way, the DPP's office is very ready.
All right. That being said, by and large, as we're coming to the end of this conversation, our time together is fast spent. Gentlemen, today we don't have a whole day, unfortunately.
But just one statement as somebody in security.
No. That's what I'm heading to.
Okay.
Of course, by and large, we can say that we're seeing a more cordial arrangement between the police or security forces and the public, as well as the candidates. By and large, how do we build on that to actually ensure that it actually goes all the way past the 15th of January 2025? I'll start with you, Fred.
Thank you so much. My colleague mentioned that there's a need for political dialogue than intelligence deployment. I don't know. I understand. I've heard that he's a lecturer in the university.
Not I've heard, it is.
I have heard. That one is true. But they expected you to have known that since 1986 to date, NRM has dialogued with 35 fighting groups, and they have all, apart from Kony, the rest have all agreed and they are part of this government. And as we speak today, there are two more bodies on the political dialogue. One is iPod.
As you quicken up.
Another one is political, the one in the consultative forum. So the government of Uganda is open to any person who is willing to dialogue. And not only that, even as security is deployed, if some security agencies, security personnel goes beyond their mandate, there are even systems, even in police, even in the army, to apprehend a person who has gone beyond his mandate. But I can assure you, maybe, that even after 10 people you meet, 6 of you are informing government.
Okay. All right. So now I have to be security conscious. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Are you a wrongdoer? Are you a wrongdoer?
I need a here.
Are you a wrongdoer?
So it is out of that intelligence that this country, which my colleague is undermining, has been able to keep this country for 40 years stable and unshaken.
Okay.
And we are committed to continue this kind of stability
Henry.
is extended to everybody.
Yes.
My friend was talking about impunity and arrogance. We are not arrogant. There is no impunity.
Why arrest a person 30 days and you cannot
I've explained that. I've explained that.
Yeah.
But anyway, this case is
you don't grant a bail.
What is
important? You're choosing to make this a battleground.
It's not a bail.
What is important is our people, especially the young ones. During campaign time or during election time, the government remains in charge of the country. The state remains in charge of the country.
Okay.
So you cannot be exonerated when you commit a crime, disguising as a supporter of either NRM or FDC or NUP or any candidate. So let us behave well. Let us cooperate with the security forces to ensure that we have a peaceful election season.
Thank you very much. And then finally?
Finally, I also wish all Ugandans in the process to keep peaceful. But again, we do not be silent when there is an injustice, because the injustice on someone today can be on you tomorrow.
Okay.
I thank you for inviting us to be part of this conversation.
Thank you so much, my panelists, this morning for helping us interrogate whether the architecture, the behavior, as well as the guiding policies of Uganda's security sector do align with its mandate, and that is to keep law and order. The judgment is in your hands, and of course you are the observer. And as rightly said, in every 10 people that you are amongst, how many are informers?
6.
6 of them are informing the government. So be mindful what you are saying, what you are doing at all times in this cycle. Have your